Now on to this. Florida Congressman Ted Yoho denies allegations that he accosted progressive Democrat AOC after an encounter between the two on Capitol Hill. The progressive Democrat even took to the floor of the House to blast Yoho.
He gave permission to use that language against his wife, his daughters, women in his community. And I am here to stand up to say that is not acceptable. I feel that people are dehumanizing others. I will not do that myself. I will not allow people to change and create hatred in our hearts.
And joining us now to set the record straight about what he did or did not do is Congressman Yoho. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Tell me what happened. The allegations are that you called AOC and F&B, and I'm sure you're familiar with that. Can you give us the story?
Yeah, I mean, it's political sophistry at its best. That never happened, Bob. She knows it didn't happen, and she has stated that didn't happen. And I challenged her on her policy period. When she told me what she did, I said her policies were freaking crazy, and that her policies were disgusting. I turned around and walked away after I got her permission to speak to her. So this whole narrative that she has that I attacked her, I accosted her, I jumped out. She gave me permission to speak to her. She didn't like what I said, so she changed that story about her policies to all of a sudden this is an attack on women and women of minorities. It had nothing to do with that, and she knows this. The interesting thing is she did a great job on the floor. When I watch that, I'm like, yeah, that guy's a bad guy. But she convinced those other 17 members of Congress that I said this, and she knows I didn't say this, and she has stated she did not hear me say that. And so she's got them attacking me on a false narrative. And I don't know how, I want to know how she's going to explain that to her colleagues, attacking a member of Congress over a lie. And this all goes back to her policies are very dangerous. And let me tell you why they're dangerous. They're leading us down to a path that she advocated. It's okay to shoplift. No, it's not. That's advocating breaking our law. You need to look at, if we just look at Washington, Denver, Michigan, and the list is continuing to grow. That's what happens when you don't have the rule of law and you have a breakdown of civil society. Her policies are socialistic. Let's fast forward. This is where they want to take us. They, AOC, and the liberal progressive Democratic Party, and it's Venezuela. That's where we're heading, and I will refuse to let that go by unchallenged.
You have every right to even have angry words with a member of Congress. Nobody would question that. I just want to clarify one thing, because the story is that if you didn't say that straight to her face, you said it under your breath walking away. I'm just asking you that because that's a story out there, and I want you to have the whole story out there so we can move on from here. Did you say it under your breath as you were walking away?
No, I mean, the reporter came up to me, and he was probably 30 feet away. I did not say that. And, you know, the guy must have great hearing, or the person must have great hearing, because I'm 35 feet away and elevated up on halfway up the Capitol. Yeah. And I mumble a lot. I'm an old 65-year-old guy that mumbles a lot.
Well, I'll tell you, she sure soaked in that attention, and she made the most out of that moment. We saw what she did. A lot of people felt it was grandstanding and making something out of nothing and fabricating something that you did not say for her political benefit. And I'm sure that's part of the reason that you do have anger against her from time to time.
Well, I don't have anger. You know, I'm a Christian. I don't have hate. You know, carrying hate around is like drinking poison, hoping somebody else dies. You know, we challenge policies because they're either, you know, we don't have understanding or they're bad policies. I can't think of anybody, and nobody has come up and says, you know what, other than one of the colleagues in that dialogue on the House floor said he thought it was a great idea, too. He's a representative from Wisconsin, saying, well, I think it's okay to shoplift if you're hungry. Yeah. No, it's not. We've got social programs. We've got faith-based organizations. We've got food pantries all around the country that we spend billions of dollars on. And we've got all these nonprofits out there. our role as a representative is to help people match up with the services they need. But to advocate for shoplifting, keep in mind, she's also calling for defunding not just the police department a little bit, the $1.5 billion that we did.
Right.
She says it all needs to go away.
Yeah,
and
Congressman.
at the same time telling.
Yeah, and you know, the shoplifting is not the problem. You and I both know that it's the looting and the rioting, which she was trying to trivialize and minimize. Let me move on to what's going on today. Attorney General Barr on Capitol Hill. I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out. What are your impressions?
Yeah. I'm watching this, and again, we just want results and facts so that we can have rule of law. And it's a political divide. I mean, listening to my colleagues on the Democratic side, it's race baiting. It's going after these people that are just peaceful protesters. I'm sorry, but when you have police officers being permanently blinded with lasers, when you have explosions going off, when you have people getting shot, knives, I mean, the list goes on. Those aren't peaceful protesters. We have the amendments in this country, and I'll fight to preserve those and protect those for anybody. But when you start crossing the line and doing these things, it's chaos, and it needs to come to an end. You can't have the amendments and the freedoms and liberty we have in this country without an air of personal responsibilities. And one of my favorite speeches was done by Frederick Douglass, and it's called The Self-Made Man. And that was, in the 1800s. And that was something where he talks about personal responsibilities. And, I don't know how we've gravitated away from that to doing what the socialists are doing today.
Yes,
and it's not acceptable in this country.
Right. Congressman, I appreciate you joining us and clearing the air and getting the actual story out there. Thank you so much, Congressman Yoho.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems or go to newsmaxtv.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.